Welcome to another episode of Reverend Jeff's Monster Info. This adventure centers around the Frogman of Loveland, Ohio. In March of 1972, on two separate occasions, two Ohio policemen saw what became known as the Loveland Frogman. Fortean investigators Rob Schaffner and Richard Mackey, who interviewed the officers, investigated the incidents. The first incident took place at 1 a.m. on March 3rd, 1972. On a clear, cold night, Officer Ray Shockey was en route to Loveland via Riverside Road when he thought he had saw a dog beside the roadway in a field on Twitewee Road. But then the thing stood up, its eyes illuminated by car lights, looked at him for an instant, turned, and leapt over the guardrail. Shockey saw it go down an embankment and into the Little Miami River. He described the thing as weighing about 60 pounds, standing about 3 to 4 feet tall, and having a textured, leathery skin and the face like a frog or a lizard. Shockey drove to the police station and returned with Officer Mark Matthews to look for evidence of the creature. They turned up scrape marks leading down the side of a small hill near the river. On St. Patrick's Day, March 17, 1972, Officer Matthews was driving outside of Loveland when he had a similar experience. Seeing an animal lying in the middle of the road, he stopped to remove what he thought was a dead critter. Instead, when the officer opened his squeaky car door, the animal got up into a crouched position like a football player. The creature hobbled to the guardrail, lifted its leg over the fence, keeping an eye on Matthews the whole time. Perhaps it was the funny smirk on his face, but Matthews decided to shoot it. He missed, however, probably because the thing didn't slow down. Matthews later told how he felt the creature stood more upright than the way Shockey had described it. One area farmer told investigators he saw a large frog-like or lizard-like creature during the same month of the officer's sightings. The reports of the 1972 Frogman have been hard on the witnesses. Those two officers took a lot of flack about the sighting back then, said a local businessman who wished to be unidentified, in a 1985 newspaper story about the sightings. People made fun of them and the city. Years later, in 1999, during local media interviews, Mark Matthews explained that he was tired of talking about the Frogman and that what he had seen was an iguana. But at the time, both witnesses definitely saw something like an upright, man-like lizard about 4 feet tall. And then there's the matter of the sketch. Officer Shockey's sister drew it for them shortly after the experience with the creature. And it clearly looks like a giant frogman, a bipedal creature. During 2001, Weird Ohio did a follow-up investigation re-interviewing principals, including asking Mark Schaffner about Matthews' attempts to pull back from his original story. Schaffner said, "Why, after all these years, is Matthews debunking the story? I'm not sure. Could be a number of reasons, but both officers told us that it resembled the sketch in 1976. Why would they show us a composite drawing of this creature back in 1976 and tell us it looked like the drawing? They lived in Loveland for about 5 years, and the story is still circulating with merry variations. Just maybe Matthews is tired of hearing the story and telling it over and over." Thanks to Weird Ohio for that. These amphibious anomalies have shocked and terrified both businessmen, farmers, and police officers, and remain one of the most intriguing cryptozoological mysteries in the United States. One of the most intriguing cases encountered is that of the Loveland Frogman, or Loveland lizards if you like. The story of these unique creatures begins actually in 1955 on a lonely stretch of road that runs along the Miami River in Clermont County. just on the outskirts of a small town known as Loveland. At approximately 3:30 a.m., an unnamed businessman claimed to have witnessed 3 bipedal quasi-reptilian entities congregating by the side of the road. The man pulled his car to the curb and observed these creatures for what he estimated to be about 3 minutes. During this time, he noticed that these strange beings stood between 3 and 4 foot tall, were covered with leathery skin, had webbed hands and feet. Their most distinguished characteristic, however, was their distinctly frog-like heads, which the man claimed bore deep wrinkles where their hair should have been. Just as the man was about to steal away, one of the creatures suddenly held what the witness could only describe as a wand above his head. The anonymous source further claimed that sparks spewed out of the end of the device. He left phosphate in its trail. Thus begins the legend of the Loveland Frogman. This tale would be fascinating enough if it ended there. But with the 2 most significant encounters in this case being police officers, it does lend credence to its happenings. Is the Frogman still out there? Many people still say they see it today. Some even claim to have video of such things. Personally, I don't have to choose. That's what's great about being me. Thanks for watching. I'm Reverend Jeff, and may the Squatch be with you.